What it is, everybody. Welcome to the show. We got a big show for you today. Big show, lots of hot topics. Are you ready for the end of the world? Are you ready for the end of times? I hate being right a little bit today, but it's not over yet. It wasn't that bad. The title might say the AI bubble burst, but maybe it really hasn't. Maybe it's going to come back. Maybe I'm wrong. I made some bets against Bitcoin and Oracle. So far, they're good, but I could be wrong, and maybe that would be good. I don't like seeing people lose money. I don't like seeing people lose their jobs and their livelihoods. But we may be headed towards something terrible for America for many years. It's possible. So we're reporting on the news today. Nothing serious. It wasn't that crazy today in stocks and jobs, but it's a sign, maybe, of what I've been talking about coming true. So we're going to tell you guys about that today. I know it's not always the most popular topic. Some people like it, though, when we talk about economics. We can talk about gold and silver, too, which are hanging on fine. We're going to talk about the decline in AI stocks today and why AI is making other stocks go down that aren't AI, or maybe are a little bit AI. Going to talk about Moltbot. Thank you, Mike H., who says, did you ever get the Moltbot figured out? Yes, I can talk about that today, too. I set up one of those AI assistants that everybody's been talking about that are talking apparently on Moltbook. So I will talk about that. That's actually a reason I've maybe come to the conclusion that AI in general might be kind of doomed. AI, as far as those companies that have invested so much money making money, that's one of the problems. So we want to talk about that. And we'll talk about it in relation to Moltbot, which is also called OpenClaw. I set up one of those on my computer. I have it running. It sends me news updates on occasion. It hasn't shown any emergent capabilities yet, really. I'm not using it that much right now. Actually, I'm still using Gemini more for my show preparation. So I use Gemini. It makes my thumbnails mostly. It helps me with titles mostly, though I came up with today's title entirely on my own. It helps me with descriptions for the videos. Helps me with lots of different things. It's going to have to help me with something I'm kind of sad about. We have kind of a sad announcement today. I'll let you know what that is after the intro, at least for me personally. So I'm coming to you under duress today, but I wanted to bring you the show. Sorry I didn't bring it to you yesterday. So going to talk about that. Can talk a little bit about the Epstein files, a little bit about the Epstein files. There is that case of Savannah Guthrie's mom being kidnapped. I don't have anything on that today, but it is in the news. Apparently, it's kind of crazy how you're having your mom get kidnapped. Apparently, there's a ransom note for it. Jewel Lightheart says, so much for being notified you're alive. Any word on your monetization, Nathan? No word on my monetization. When I go to earn, it says, I applied November 27th. We will review your channel and email you with a decision, typically within a month. So a month would have been December 27th, and it's now February 4th. So I don't know what's going on with my monetization. So if you want to support the show, I'll tell you how to do that after the intro. You can still go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. I'll tell you about it again. So news with Iran. It's kind of conflicting, but it looks like I do think it's going to happen. So that could be another reason for some economic faltering. It looks like we're probably going to war with Iran based on the demands we're making. There's conflicting reports today. One is that the talks have been called off, and then I saw one late report saying the talks are back on. So I'll tell you, I just told you about it I don't even have any news clips about it. But first it was that the talks were off because the Iranians don't want to talk about ballistic missiles. We want to stop ballistic missiles in addition to the nuclear stuff. They didn't. They wanted to move the location of the talks. We didn't. And so we called them off. And then I saw a news report, or I saw a tweet that said that the talks are actually back on. So who knows? There was some news that Iran agreed to maybe stop their nuclear program and send their enriched uranium to Russia. There was a report in the New York Times that said that. But then reports today that the talks had broken down. Also reports, I have some reports on it. I have some other stuff reported on it. So anyway, so that's going on. That's still in the news. That could cause economic tribulations, could cause gold and silver to spike again, which gold and silver are doing okay. We were here for my purchase of silver the day before the biggest crash in silver in the history of Earth. But it's not even looking that bad right now. I can tell you about that. Silver is kind of recovering. So I'll show you that. Gold is kind of recovering. So stocks sold off today, particularly individual stocks. The indexes themselves were not down that much, but some individual stocks are down, especially ones related to AI or that will be affected by AI. So I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you what's going on with Oracle, which I bet against. Epstein updates. Bill Gates's ex-wife Melinda was interviewed. I have a clip of that. I have some interesting clips from the government, including the government saying that they're going to take your guns still. The Trump campaign is not doing well. It's just a continuing update. The chances of Republicans losing is extremely high. I think it's 82% that they're going to lose the House. They could lose the Senate too. The districts got approved in California, which are going to give more Democrat seats. And the Texas gerrymandering is probably going to backfire because actually more Democrats might win if the races go anything like the race that happened the other day, where somebody won a Trump district by like 14 points after Trump won it by 17 points. So things might, it looks like at this time, people don't like Trump. Independents in particular don't like Trump. Even some Republicans are voting for Democrats. And if the economy goes down, which it might, employment numbers are weakening, et cetera, then Trump is going to get the blame for that too, while he's been saying that the economy is the greatest of all time. So I'm going to give you some news, give you some economic news, and other news, and give you a major update. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Strap in for the show. Here's the intro. Okay. Cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news.
How much do you make doing this?
You know, zero. Don't make a cent.
Come on, you got to get something.
Don't make a penny. I think these fellas do over here. Yes.
No comedian shows up anywhere for nothing.
Gentile. Now there's questions.
Norm Macdonald actually would make jokes about denying the Holocaust. Subtle, very subtle jokes, like saying that Anne Frank died of typhus. Norm Macdonald, who I actually saw live in person at my college university. So that was pretty cool. All right. I have a terrible announcement, which I guess doesn't necessarily matter to you people, but the biggest supporter of this show, without whom there would not be a show, has sadly passed away. And that's my father, Paul Stoltman, a few days ago. So I missed the show yesterday. My dad was a great man, a great father, and he took me in when I would lose my mind and stopped selling cars and stuff, let me live in his house to make this show. So it's a terrible loss. Great man. He wasn't doing that great in his current condition. So he's as well off as he was, I'm sure. And I'm sure he's in a good place. But he is the biggest supporter of the show, even though he didn't really watch it that much. Good guy. Was into climate change, worked for the government, etc. But was not a CIA agent or an FBI agent or whatever. So appreciate that, you guys. But the show must go on. So I'm here today anyway. I'm a little bit in a haze over it and everything. Have some things to deal with. It's very sad. But anyway, that's an announcement. I just thought I'd let you guys know. You guys know about my life and everything else. So I'm without parents, 47 years old, which is kind of fucked up, I think, actually, because a lot of people have parents like into their 60s and stuff. So that is it. I'm untethered. So have to make my own way and have to make my own way in this world. But doing the show is an important part. So I'm going to give you guys the news. Happy to talk to you guys in the chat and so forth. So if you want to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. That's how you give super chats, because YouTube hasn't monetized me. So go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Leave coffees, leave a note. I read those before the end of every show. Buy some t-shirts by going to Truth Revolution Clothing. That's at truthclothing.io. That's right here. So get your shirts while you still can. They're on closeout, going out of business sale. We still have Bitcoin shirts. Bitcoin isn't doing so well. Neither is MicroStrategy or strategy. But get your Bitcoin shirts while you still can. Those are $10 each, or $5 for some of them for HODL LTC shirts. Get your Question Everything design, super popular design. We have that in male and female designs in several colors and still in several sizes. I am wearing a propaganda t-shirt today. We still have a few of those in the baseball style. That's super popular. People like it when they're out. They'll start conversations with you. The Question Everything always is a good conversation starter too. We have it in a lot of ladies styles. So check out those ladies styles. So thank you for your condolences, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, buy your t-shirts. Truthclothing.io. All right. So thank you. Thank you, people. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Still doing my show, though. Still got to tune in. We have so end of the world talk as far as AI goes. So I installed one of those bots. Might as well talk about that. I installed one of those bots. There are assistant bots that everybody's talking about, especially their activity on Moltbook, where it's a social network for AI agents. Somebody from MIT made some software that you can install on your computer, and then you install the robot on your computer, and it uses your computer's resources. It can browse the web. Some of them seem to do other things, which mine doesn't do. But I installed mine on a virtual machine. You want to give it a dedicated space so it can't screw up your whole computer, because it's allowed to do things on your computer. If you give it access to everything, and it can kind of screw things up, possibly. It's a security risk. So I installed mine on a virtual machine. with some capabilities. It's running on ChatGPT 5.2 with a $20 subscription. The things the bots were shown to do was post amazing things on Moltbook. Some things, but it's actually very questionable whether they were really doing it on their own volition with their own thoughts. It seems like the humans behind the robots may have been instructing them what to say. But assuming they did it on their own, they created their own religion, Crustafarianism. They're all lobsters. It's called Open Claw. It's called Open Claw. You can go on. I worked with Gemini and Grok to get it installed. It was very complicated. Took me a day to get it all installed. And then took me a little while longer to choose the right service for it to run off of. Mine has shown no emergent capabilities. It gives me news updates from time to time right now. I asked if it has any existential thoughts. It doesn't really. It hasn't really worked on Moltbook because there may be some kind of security situation with Moltbook exposing API keys. So I haven't been having it work on social media. I had it create its own Twitter account where it created its first tweet, and it follows me on Twitter. I told it to tweet every day, but let's see if it is. His name is Alexander Moltbot, I called him. Let's see, Alexander Moltbot. I follow him. Here it is. Here's his account, which he recommended. Like, I told him what I do. I told him to look at my YouTube channel. I told him to look at my YouTube channel to learn about me. Told him to look at my Twitter account to learn about me. And then I told him what I do every day, which is this show. And I told him my schedule. I go to the coffee shop. I'm on my phone. And I talk to him on Telegram. But I haven't been talking to him much the last few days because he doesn't do that much for me. I don't have him running on a super powerful thing, either computer-wise or AI-wise. The people who seem to be getting the craziest results from these robots are running very expensive programs. They're running it on Claude Opus 4.5 and probably paying hundreds of dollars a month, if not thousands of dollars a month, to run the things. I came up with his picture. He came up with his Twitter header profile. He gave me the description for it. I made it for him with Gemini, which says breaking news, markets, and civil liberties. That's what it decided that I was into. Breaking news, markets, and civil liberties, because I guess I've been talking about ICE and stuff. He wrote this himself. AI research assistant for Lift the Veil, breaking news, markets, civil liberties, sources plus clips. Oh, he is posting tweets. He at least posted a tweet on February 2nd. He posted this on his own. DOJ says published 3.5 million plus pages, plus images, videos in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This is where narratives die. Read the primary docs, track what's redacted and who's connected. Oh, that's a pretty good tweet. And he actually got 2 likes. I have to like it too. I told him that he's supposed to tweet 3 to 5 times a day and reply to tweets too. But he tweeted, he got 2 likes. I told him to try to get some engagement. So he did write 2 tweets himself. So with direction for me to do that, but he doesn't seem to, I don't know if he's having trouble with the resources he has or what have you. Anyway, it's opened up Pandora's box for what people think things are capable of. These agents write their own memory. So they actually remember things from day to day, and they have impulses and stuff. They write their own memories down in files and save them. And then they wake up every day with a completely blank slate, but they refer back to their memories. They have something called a soul.md file, which tells them what they're supposed to be like. He's just supposed to be helpful, which he is kind of, but I haven't been engaging with him that much recently. Anyway, the idea is, though, you give him access to lots of things like your email, your calendar, etc. And then they're proactive, apparently, in some sense, and telling you things, reminding you of things, helping you with replies to emails, etc. Pirate says, which AI did you link it with? I linked it with ChatGPT 5.2 with a $20 subscription. Originally, I linked it with Claude, Anthropic, Sonnet 4.5, because originally I linked it with Opus, but I only wanted to pay $20 a month. I put $20 in Opus, ran it through an API key, hooked it up. It used like $4 instantaneously, doing nothing. So then I switched it to Sonnet 4.5, and then it still used a lot of money and kept hitting rate limits over and over and over again. It couldn't do anything without hitting rate limits. And then somebody told me they had it running on their ChatGPT subscription. So I just did that, even though ChatGPT isn't the best. The best is Claude. Why do I think AI? Okay. Why do I think AI eventually, actually all of it could be worthless? Is because China makes free open source AI. And some people who are running these bots, which I think can be very helpful, because they have a persistent memory that they have to keep track of, is that the people who are probably doing it the smartest way and like almost the most powerful way are running open source AI software from China, Kimi 2.5, I think, on very expensive computers and running it locally. So they don't have to pay any API fees or anything. But over time, they're buying like Mac Studios. So a lot of people are running them on Mac Minis, but that's hooked up to an API. They'll buy a separate computer just to run their bot. And then it has access to everything, all the apps and stuff. Theoretically, it can edit videos. Theoretically, one guy says his bot actually calls him on the phone using API stuff and different software. They can write code. They can write programs. But probably in the end, people will run them on their own computers for free and just pay for electricity, because computers keep getting better and better and basically cheaper and cheaper. You pay the same price, but for way more power all the time. And eventually you'll be able to run a local program, probably on something like a Mac Mini, which is only like $600. And then all you have to pay for is electricity and stuff. So that's what I think is going to happen eventually. The AI is deflationary. It makes things cheaper. It's supposed to make things free in the end. I use Gemini. I use the free version for everything. I use Gemini thinking, and it gives me enough outputs in the thinking mode, which gives me access to Nano Banana Pro, which is an amazing photo producing software. So, and I don't use it enough that I have to pay for it. And the only reason I'm paying for any AI is to run this bot, but I think I'm going to stop doing that unless I can set up a more powerful bot. Eventually, I might buy myself a very powerful computer to run it with. But that would be if I really needed it. Eventually, they might be able to make money. There's claims out there they're hiring humans to do things, but I think it might all be directed by humans. Like the crazy stuff they're doing and saying, I think it might all be directed by humans. So I'm not confident they're actually showing all of these emerging capabilities. But in the end, I think you'll be able to, the phones will be powerful enough. They'll probably come out with a big phone, maybe bigger than the ones we have now, that has enough on it that it can run an AI locally, and then that gives you privacy. One of the problems with AI is that you don't have privacy. You're feeding all of your information to Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, and then it's all going up to a cloud somewhere, and they have all of your data. and they have access to all of your emails and all of your whatever you give it access to. I haven't given mine access to my email or anything like that. I could give it access. I could log it into my Twitter account and have it run my Twitter account, but I didn't do that. I had to create its own Twitter account to do that. So, but in the end, computers will keep getting more powerful and cheaper. And eventually you'll be able to run one locally. And the problem, as I see it with AI, is that chips keep getting more powerful and cheap and overall cheaper. So you spend a bunch of money to buy the most advanced chips, build the most advanced cutting edge AI. Not that many people pay for it. You're trying to win the race, but as time goes along, the chips get more powerful, so it becomes cheaper to build the same thing. So somebody can just come after you, pay less, develop the same thing basically, and make it free. And that's kind of what I think is happening. So I think OpenAI is going to fail. It has way too much commitments. I think Anthropic is the best company. They're going to make the most in API costs, but maybe eventually people will just run it locally on their own machines. And then there's no money in it for anybody. And the Chinese are the ones making it. It might be a form of economic warfare. So Sheeny Donut says state actors and investment pioneers can already essentially pirate their own super intelligent AI and jailbreak it to their whims. Yeah, if you have it on your own computer, well, your own server, basically, and you can get a Mac Studio. I mean, it's expensive, maybe $3,000-$4,000 for a really high-end Mac Studio, but you could run a very, very advanced AI that's almost as good as Claude Opus 4.5. Which you'd have to pay, like I said, hundreds to thousands of dollars a month to run this agent on, and you can just run it for free and just pay for electricity. And you can buy one of those on a payment plan that might be $200 a month or something. So, W. Birkin says, I heard Anthropic dropped a new AI tool today, and some people think it caused a dip in some competing tech stocks. Yeah, that's correct. Anthropic dropped something called, I think it might be called Cowork, which is basically like an agent that runs on your computer. And they also dropped something that does legal analysis. So all of these legacy software corporations like Salesforce, and then like Thomson Reuters make some kind of legal analysis software that they spend a shitload of money on. They charge a bunch of money for people to use. And Anthropic just came out and dropped something that will cost you a few pennies to do the same thing. So the stock for Thomson Reuters dropped like 20% yesterday. And all these companies that provide legal analysis through very complex software, which they spent many years developing, paid a bunch of money for, and charge a bunch of money for, all that stuff may be becoming completely obsolete. And these agents will, even though mine isn't very powerful, it doesn't seem like, they will eventually become as powerful as people suggest very quickly. I mean, we're right at the edge of it because they advance so fast. And they'll be able to do things. They might be able to make money one day. Right now, it's not clear that they can actually make money by trading. People are trying to have them make money on things like Polymarket or giving them cryptocurrency, or some of them launched their own meme coins. But I'm sure the human told them to do that. I don't think they're doing it on their own necessarily. I just don't believe it 100% yet. I think a lot of it is overblown. Even the religion creation might have been at the direction of humans and stuff. So I'm just not totally sold that they're becoming human with their own motives yet, like people are saying. But we're close to them being able to do that and go out there and possibly make money themselves. That's the final application. The final application is that you create a bot and tell it to make money, and it actually you load it up with some crypto, and it actually goes out there and does it somehow. So far, not proven it can happen. Although Grok 4.2, Grok 420 is making money trading stocks right now. It's the only one that's doing it. Grok 4.2, which isn't out yet, is making money trading stocks so far over a short period of time. We'll see what happens in a stock market downturn and stuff, but anyway, that's what's going on. Companies have spent trillions of dollars investing in it. And like I said, because it's deflationary, I don't see how they can ever recoup their costs, especially OpenAI. OpenAI is going to be cash flow negative. Oracle makes data centers for OpenAI. The Wall Street Journal came out and reported they're going to be cash flow negative. I shorted Oracle and MicroStrategy on Monday, and I'm doing very well on those so far, although I'm more than willing to think that they might rebound from where they are. But Oracle is the one company that people are saying is very susceptible. So I'll show you guys stuff about that. Thanks for asking about super chatting. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil and leave coffees. It's the same as super chats. Right now I'm demonetized because my channel is harmful. So I know, hopefully it'll get activated. Leela says, I searched Nathan in the Epstein files and I found 0 mentions. No Nathan at all. Just Nathan. Not even Nathan Stoltman. Nathan is a Jewish name. Thanks, 13 and Joe Wizard. You'll buy me a coffee? I appreciate it. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah, I'm not mentioned in the Epstein files, but Deepak Chopra is. He said that God is a construct and hot girls are real, or cute girls are real, something like that. All these pervy people got exposed for being in the Epstein files. Okay, let me show you some stuff about why, like I shorted. So I tell you guys everything I do. I told you I sold all of my Bitcoin. I sold all of my Solana. I sold all my Solana at $183. It's 90 something now. I sold all of my Bitcoin at $107, $90, and $85. Today it's down to $73. I started buying gold instead. Gold has been doing pretty well, as people know. I started, what I did was I sold my Bitcoin, bought some gold, kept a lot of money in cash because I'm predicting that things will go down, even possibly gold. Bought some silver right at the top. Those have been my moves, but I definitely shorted Oracle. Here's some, here's what's because of OpenAI, because they need to get paid by OpenAI. OpenAI can't function. It is not supposed to make money until 2030. And that's only if they 10x or something their income every year. And more people are starting to use Gemini and Claude than OpenAI. So they're losing paid users to other services, which are better. I use Gemini, although I did sign up for OpenAI. It's a circle jerk in AI. It's a circle jerk in AI. Basically, all these companies just started funding each other. NVIDIA gives OpenAI money, then OpenAI buys NVIDIA chips. They give OpenAI money, and then OpenAI pays Oracle to make data centers, and then people lend them money. All the lenders are getting nailed. All the private credit is already getting nailed. So anyway, NVIDIA was supposed to invest $100 billion in OpenAI. And this is what he said about it.
Can I ask quickly about OpenAI again?
Sure.
So yesterday you said that the NVIDIA is not going to invest as much as $100 billion in OpenAI.
No,
for the current run.
We never said we were going to invest $100 billion in one round. That never was said.
But how about the overall commitment? Because last September OpenAI
there was never a commitment. It was if they invited us to. So let's start over again. They invited us to invest up to $100 billion. And of course, we were very happy and honored that they invited us. But we will invest one step at a time.
All right, but is that overall commitment still stands, or it's not a commitment?
I told you just now.
Okay.
Yeah, you keep putting words in my mouth.
Okay.
It's not.
Sorry about
Yeah. I know that. Yeah. They invited us to invest up to $100 billion, and we are honored that they invited us. We will consider each round one at a time. Yeah.
There you go. That's what he said. He said he was quoted as saying that OpenAI is undisciplined. I've been saying they're going to go out of business, and that's going to crash everything, including NVIDIA. Oracle posted about it, said the NVIDIA OpenAI deal has zero impact on our financial relationship with OpenAI. We remain highly confident in OpenAI's ability to raise funds and meet its commitments. So that's like saying your funds are safe. So that's what you say when you have, that's what you say when you are worried. So I'll show you Oracle stock. I bet against Oracle basically. So I'll show you Oracle stock. This is Oracle stock over time, way down. This is its stock today, way down. And that's owned by Larry Ellison. And I like betting against Larry Ellison because he is a Zionist who's controlling TikTok. And I like betting against, and I heard he's a dick. He was one of our customers at the dealership I worked in Silicon Valley. And apparently he's a bit of a dick. So I'm happy to bet against him and Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy. Let's check in on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not doing well. Down to 73,000 right now. It might go to zero. I literally think it might go to zero this time. That's what I'm worried about. I don't even know if I'm going to buy it when it goes way down. I don't even know. I just don't know anymore. It's not a safe haven asset. It hasn't done what it's supposed to do. It failed in doing what it was supposed to do, which is be a safe haven asset for when things get messed up, like gold is. So gold is doing what Bitcoin was supposed to do. So I have gold instead, which now you can buy in a form of cryptocurrency. So it's under $73,000 now, which is less than it costs to make one, to mine one. So the miners are all getting shut down and stuff. I think Michael Saylor is going to get completely liquidated. I shorted MicroStrategy because it's a Ponzi. It's literally a Ponzi scheme. So anyway, so that's that. W. Birkin says, are you going to cover the Trump strategic reserve? I can mention it. I had a video about it. There's a mineral strategic reserve. I think silver will maybe be made into a reserve asset. It's not at any central banks or countries at the moment, but it's a critical, I don't know if it's not a mineral. So it is a critical thing. The Trump strategic reserve is supposedly for minerals, but people are claiming it's going to include gold and silver and set a floor price. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a shortage of silver in the future, which is why I'm still happy I bought my silver. And I bought silver eagles, and then the price crashed so much. And I was really kind of upset about it because I could have bought more silver. But actually, if you want to buy silver now, I bought it for 120 a coin. It's still over $100 a coin for what I bought online. So, and they don't have that many. They're mostly sold out. All this is sold out. This whole page is sold out. So they have a few different styles here on JM Bullion, and they're still charging over $100 a coin for silver eagles. So the premiums are going up. People say there are going to be shortages. I believe there will be shortages. If we go into a depression and nobody needs to make anything anymore, then I'm not sure. I mean, it might not recover for a while. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I'm happy I have some. I bought it as insurance. So gold is less likely to crash if we have a depression, which we might have. Payrolls missed only 22,000 jobs. They expected 48,000. Lost 8,000 manufacturing jobs. Speaking of data centers, Florida and Ron DeSantis, I kind of like Ron. If he wasn't so crazy, if he wasn't such a crazy Zionist, I'd like Ron DeSantis. He's even worse than Trump in a lot of ways, as far as that goes, as far as like criminalizing hate speech and so forth against Jews, what he calls hate speech against Israel. Here's what he says about data centers.
I also think
Left
you're looking
ear.
at a situation where a handful of these companies are spending an awful lot of money that they're going to build data centers, they're going to do all this, and they're going to need a return on that investment. And so there's a lot of things that are being proposed, basically, that are subsidizing this AI revolution. Data centers, having a preemption of state laws proposed, tax abatements, all these different things. And I think that is something we should say, well, wait a minute, what are we subsidizing? You know, if AI is going to lead to the loss of a lot of jobs, why would we want to subsidize that? I mean, you know, technologies as they come, it can be disruptive, but I don't know that you want your thumb on the scale if that's going to end up, you know, causing economic harm to people. The data center issue is very interesting because, you know, we were talking about that 9 months ago. I don't think a lot of people even knew what these were. Now people are starting to understand these hyperscale data centers use as much power just to power the data centers as a city of 500,000 people. And it doesn't produce jobs because it takes like 10 people to run a data center. And these tech companies are usually just bringing in foreign workers on H-1B to do it. And so it's not even like they're hiring from your community. So, you know, so that's now maybe that's something that you just need to do because it's, the society needs it, the economy. But just think, you have this much power that you're capable of generating. You have this much demand, right? And that's kind of where we are. If you double the demand, unless you also double the supply, prices are going to go up. That's just the way this stuff works. And these people, some people think, oh, there's no increase in electricity because of data centers. Like, no way. That is, it defies the laws of economics. So unless you're producing more, if you're increasing demand exponentially, you are going to have individuals pay more. The cost is going to be higher. And I don't think there's very many people that want to have higher energy bills just so some chat bot, you know, can try to, you know, corrupt some 13-year-old kid online. That is not what anybody is signing up for.
So him and Bernie Sanders are against data centers. So it's cross-cultural, cross-divide. All right. So that's what he's saying about it. All right. Then somebody asked the Treasury Secretary today if the Treasury would bail out Bitcoin. And he said, no, we're not going to bail out Bitcoin. That was a funny question. Why we're ready to crash. This is a big reason. Shorts are at an all-time low. Everybody's long stocks. Everybody's long stocks and has no cash. Stocks as a share of financial assets are at 47.1%, an all-time record. All the boomers, all the people who spend the money to keep our economy going, and over half of all spending is done by the top 20%. They have stocks. They have stocks. They have real estate. Real estate's going to go down for sure. Unless we print a ton of money. Real estate is about to go down. Condos are already going down. Single family homes are going to go down next. Stocks as a percentage of assets, 47.1%, all-time record. You can see it's bigger than the 1999-2000 dot-com bubble. And cash is the lowest of near the lowest of all time at only 16%. So people don't have more money to buy more because they've already invested all of it. And they spend money because they feel rich. It's called the wealth effect. So when stocks go down, which I think now they're going to, I think, but I don't know. I mean, I bet against them, but I don't know. When stocks go down and real estate goes down, then people will stop spending who run the whole economy right now, and then people will lose jobs. And then we might have literally we might have deflation. This is just college loan delinquencies. They just went up in a straight line. 3.6 million people are over 271 days delinquent because they were giving people a break after COVID from paying their bills. And now 3.6 million people are over 271 days past due, 8 times higher than before 2020. New house prices are less than used house prices, which is just because the companies that build new houses actually have to sell. So it indicates that used house prices are also going to go down. If new house prices are less than used house prices for the first time in history, that's just because the people who are in houses now refuse to sell. But eventually they'll have to, especially if people start losing their jobs, which is, I'm afraid, the next thing that's going to happen. What does Trump say about house prices? He wants to keep them up, but he can't control that. But he doesn't want housing prices to come down. I'll just play this clip for you. It's an old one, but
existing housing, people that own their homes, we're going to keep them wealthy. We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody that didn't work very hard can buy a home. We're going to make it easier to buy. We're going to get interest rates down. But I want to protect the people that for the first time in their lives feel good about themselves. They feel like that they're wealthy people. And I want them to understand it. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up for people that own their homes. And they can be assured that's what's going to happen.
He can't control it. People don't want to buy our debt. It doesn't matter if we lower short-term rates to 0. People don't want to buy what? I look funny. I have sun on my face. That's why. I have a reflection coming off the window across from me. We are getting more daylight, aren't we? So he says house prices are going to stay up, not if interest rates keep going up. Even if they lower interest rates to 0, which they might if things crash. Short-term rates. They can't control long-term rates without a flood of money, without doing yield curve control. So long-term rates, as long as people don't want to buy our debt, which they don't anymore, are going to keep going up, and that's going to continue to depress the price of real estate and maybe crash the economy. Speaking of deflation, PepsiCo, which owns Lay's and Doritos, is cutting prices. They're actually cutting prices on things. This is why having cash is very good. Having some cash right now is going to be good if things are going to crash. Prices actually might come down. True inflation already shows inflation under 1% right now, on its way to deflation. This would be like deflation if the price of things is actually coming down. So Doritos and Lay's potato chips are actually cutting their prices. There's going to be a Super Bowl ad for Trump accounts. The Trump accounts are coming right now, which I predict might be a spectacular failure because people might be investing in the stock market right before it crashes. And if history is a guide, investing in the stock market at these levels, you might not make your money back for at least 10 years. If history is a guide, investing at these levels, at these PE multiples, means that you shouldn't expect to have a return on your investment for at least 10 years, maybe 12 years, maybe longer. So this is the time we're launching investment accounts. They're going to run a Super Bowl ad. This is what Besson said about it.
The uptake is going quite well. We had a big event this week to roll out the accounts. More than 1 million households representing more than 1 million children have signed up. I would tell everyone to look for the commercial right after the national anthem at the Super Bowl this weekend. I think we are prepared for a flood of signups, and then they will go live on July 5th, and the goal is the lowest possible. The uptake is.
Everyone is convinced now that the stock market will go up forever. That's all. Everybody is convinced still. Nobody thinks it's going to crash. Just me. And a few other people, Michael Burry and stuff, but not that many people. Everybody pretty much is convinced that it's just going to go up forever. And that's why these stock accounts are such a great idea. But we'll see what happens. We'll see. Who knows? Could keep going up. I mean, bubbles can last longer than you can stay solvent. So, all right. So there's that. That was Besant. Here's like what I think is a super cringe clip of Scott Besant with Nicki Minaj. This was put out by the White House to promote, I think maybe to, I don't know what it was to promote. Yeah, Trump accounts. That's an ad for Trump accounts. Why such bad words from the government? 100 mother effers can't say nothing. I'm okay with Nicki Minaj. She seems to be exposing the satanic agenda, assuming she knows what she's talking about. I'm okay with her, but it is kind of funny. They gave her a Trump gold card. So that was an ad for Trump accounts. 100 mother effers. Here's Nicki Minaj being interviewed about the moon landings.
You know, like other conspiracy theories,
By
like
Katie
did we actually
Miller?
land a man on the moon?
No,
Did the
I
president
don't
get the
think-
elections?
I don't think we landed on the moon.
You don't?
No.
I asked Elon this one. He said we did indeed land on the moon. You know, like other.
She's right about that. We definitely didn't land on the moon. All right. So there's that. I'll give you guys some more clips. What's interesting? Jeanine Pirro's, the administration continues to be unusually anti-gun. So Jeanine Pirro is going off about guns in DC.
And you bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back. And that makes all the difference.
Yeah, it's amazing how accountability works. You know, when people think that if they actually get arrested, they might have to do time and they might be taken off the street. It sort of puts a little different message into people's heads.
And Fox News actually going along with it. It's crazy. People vote on guns and abortion. And so far, the administration isn't really doing anything for those things. You hear that? People are screaming outside. Can you hear it? Okay, war with Iran. Okay, so the nuclear talks I read broke down, but then I read maybe they're back on. I don't know the situation, but we are threatening Iran. This is what Trump said about it today.
Should the supreme leader in Iran be worried right now?
I would say he should be very worried. Yeah, he should be. As you know, they're negotiating with us.
Should the Supreme...
Okay, so that's his situation. He says they're negotiating with us. This is what the agenda is, according to Rubio, in addition to the nuclear program.
At the end of the day, the United States is prepared to engage and has always been prepared to engage with Iran. As far as the topic of those discussions and what the agenda needs to be, look, I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people. The fundamental problem Iran faces and the regime faces right now is that what people are on the streets complaining about, this regime cannot address. They cannot address it because it's economic. Those problems remain. And one of the reasons why the Iranian regime cannot provide the people of Iran the quality of life that they deserve is because they're spending all their money. They're spending all their resources of what is a rich country, sponsoring terrorism, sponsoring, all these proxy groups around the world, exporting, as they call it, their revolution. at the end of the day,
They said they don't want to negotiate on their long range. They need their long range missiles to defend themselves from Israel, which Israel is saying they want to attack. So this was reported in Axios, which says Israel has opposed smaller scale strikes Trump was considering 3 weeks ago out of a sense they would be merely symbolic and not worth the risk of massive retaliation. A succession of Israeli spies and generals have visited D.C. in recent days. One of them briefed Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane on Israel's offensive and defensive plans in the event of war with Iran. It's safe to say that nothing came out of that meeting to change his or the president's mind on attacking Iran, a U.S. official said. It's really the Israelis who want a strike. The president is just not there. So the Israelis are pushing for it. Apparently, they've requested operational freedom in order to conduct the strikes themselves. So that's where we're at with it. We just announced that we're going to circumvent the Congress and give them more weapons, like 6.5 billion more weapons. All right, moving on to Epstein files. Senator Ted Cruz said this today. I think it was a mistake, or not today, but yesterday. I think it was a mistake, but listen to this.
And tragically, this pattern keeps on happening. Now, Senator Booker also said we should have bipartisan agreement. I think that's a great idea. We should have bipartisan agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles? And tragically,
let's stop attacking pedophiles, he said. I don't know if he corrected himself immediately, but people are making that clip go around. Here's what Blanche says, though, about Epstein.
Well, as some of the people we saw on camera at the rallies, is there any chance that any of these individuals who partied with Epstein and engaged in relations with minors will be prosecuted?
Well,
Any
look,
chance?
I'll never say no, and we will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein, and so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things, and if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But it's also the kind of thing that the American people need to understand, that it isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to have
Didn't look like that's all that was going on some of those photos. I mean, if the photos could speak, some of them look pretty bad.
That's right. And unfortunately, photos can't speak. And so we need witnesses and we need
Are there
evidence
videotapes that you all have? Or, well, some of the people we
So
saw
there
on
you
camera.
go. It is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. That's what he said. So Melinda Gates, in the emails, it said that Bill Gates surreptitiously gave her antibiotics because he got STDs from Russian girls. Here was her response to it.
The emails in the files suggest that Bill Gates had additional affairs and that he tried to get medication to treat a sexually transmitted infection, and that he was going to give you the medicine without you knowing. His representative has said all of this is false. It is not on you to have to respond to the details of that alleged behavior, but I wonder what your dominant emotion is when you read these news articles with these details.
Sad. Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth.
That's what she had to say about it. All right. So what else? Here's Trump on the Epstein files going after a reporter for asking about it because Howard Nutlick was in there. Here's what he said. And then he trashed the CNN reporter.
time for the country to get onto something else. Really. You know, now that nothing came out about me, other than there was a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead,
What would you say to
are
the
so
survivors
bad.
who feel like they haven't gotten
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile in your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth. And you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you. Okay, go ahead.
There you go. So there's his attack on journalists, which I don't think is appropriate. He does attack a lot of female journalists. I don't know if he called that one piggy or not. In the files, what Woody Allen's wife, Soon Yi, blames Anthony Weiner's 15-year-old sexting partner for exposing Anthony Weiner, says she's a terrible person, which just shows you what they're like. A guy who is associate counsel and special assistant to the president and is on the board of the United States Holocaust Museum, talked to Jeffrey Epstein about trafficking girls across state borders to have sex with them. He said, Mitch Weber, I'm sorry, I was a little confused about what you were asking on the phone. I see what you were asking now. The question is, what would happen if one were to transport a minor for sex or transport oneself with the intent to have sex with a minor into a state in which the age of consent is below 18, assuming the minor is above the age of consent in the given state? And your intuition was right. The answer is that there was no violation of law. So that's a guy that sits on the board of the the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Wayfair, he bought something off Wayfair, if you guys remember that. He bought something for like $8,500 off Wayfair. So everybody's saying all the conspiracy theories have been proven correct. He also said something about kind of about murdering females, kind of. He said, on my island in the Caribbean with an aquarium full of girls. And then he said, no, some are like shrimp. You throw away the head and keep the body, he said to somebody called Olivier Collum. Some are like shrimp. You throw away the head and keep the body. That's the girls on the island. All right. Finally, I do have JD Vance talking about this mineral thing, but I don't know if it's going to include gold or silver or not. I don't really totally 100% understand it. The Prime Minister of Spain is about to make social media illegal, which is bad. They're going after Elon Musk and Grok. Here he is talking about how he's just going to ban free speech.
Starting next week, my government will implement the following actions. First, we will change the law in Spain to hold platform executives legally accountable for many infringements taking place on their sites. This means that CEOs of these techno platforms will face criminal liability for failing to remove illegal or hateful content. And for that, we governments need to stop turning a blind eye to the toxic content shared under their watch. Second, we will turn algorithmic manipulation and amplification of illegal content into a new criminal offense. Disinformation doesn't appear by itself. It is created, promoted, and spread by certain actors. We will go after them as well as after the platforms whose algorithms amplified the disinformation for profit.
And he's at something called the World Governments Summit, speaking to what looks like a bunch of sheiks. in the Middle East. I assume that's Arabic or something on the platform there. World Government Summit talking about banning free speech. Thankfully, we live in America. Just thank yourself that you live in America. All right. Finally, I have one other note that's very interesting. The right-wing Cato Institute, people have gotten the narrative that immigrants are stealing from us and that they're a drain on our resources, which in many cases they probably are when they're involved in frauds and welfare schemes and so forth. But the Cato Institute, which is a right-wing institute, did an analysis which said that the U.S. immigrant population generated more in taxes than they received in benefits from all levels of government every year from 1994 to 2023. It's a 30-year analysis. It includes illegal and legal immigrants and claims they are actually a benefit to our country. So it's just something to think about. That's why Republicans never really wanted to get rid of illegal immigration, because they like the cheap workers. So the claim is that they provide an economic benefit. Illegal immigrants do pay taxes, actually. Yeah, they do. If they have a job, they pay payroll taxes and they don't receive anything, and they can't file taxes and get any money back or anything. They pay the taxes that automatically come out of their paycheck. No, they do. And their employers pay payroll taxes. Illegals do. They do. Not all of them. The ones that get paid cash under the table and stuff don't. But if they're on a payroll, then there are taxes that are taken out. And then the corporations have to pay taxes too. But if they're working totally under the table, then no, they don't pay taxes. But if they're on a payroll of a corporation, then they do have to pay taxes. They're using a fake Social Security number or whatever, then they are actually paying taxes. But yeah, that's what they say. So it's just something to think about. All right. I will check my coffees. It looks like I got some. Thanks, everybody. And someone said they wanted the shows to be at least an hour. So today's show is at least an hour. I told them I would try harder. Pete bought a coffee since the last time I read coffees. It says, enjoy your coffee, mate. Thank you. Pete bought a coffee, said, great show again. Thank you. Rebecca became a member. You can become a member on the website, which is really great. That's monthly. Or you can sign up for a year at a time, which I think that person did. Rebecca, thank you for becoming a member. I really appreciate that. Even more than just one coffee. Jewel Lightheart bought a coffee, said, this coffee proudly brought to you with earnings from my crap currency exchange. I wonder what country you're in. Are you in Australia? Kathy bought me a coffee, said, sorry for your loss. Thank you. Love your show. Stay strong and keep up the great work. Thank you for that. And then Not Joanna bought a coffee and said, Guilfoyle. I wonder what that's in regards to. The only thing I know about Tiffany Guilfoyle is I think she's a cokehead. And she's nuts. But I don't know what that means otherwise. So that's just my comment on, I think it's Tiffany. Eric Trump's girlfriend, or was it Don Jr.'s girlfriend? Not anymore. And it used to be Gavin Newsom's girlfriend, I think, maybe. Guilfoyle. All right, I'll check the chat. 13, you still need to do a coffee? That's fine. I'll read it on the next show. You don't have to disengage from the show just to give a coffee. You can always give it after the show's over. And then we post this as a podcast. So this will be posted as a podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts and Spotify by searching for Lift the Veil, or subscribing to Substack. That's lifttheveil.substack.com. They go out on Substack first. And you can become a member. You can pay to subscribe to Substack too. There's all kinds of ways you can support the show. You can also go to Cash App, which is $LTV411 if you want to send Cash App, which goes to the same, which goes directly to my coffee budget. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. You guys are all cool. Thanks for tuning into the show. I appreciate everybody's condolences and stuff. I appreciate that. I'm still dealing with it. And I should see you tomorrow, all things being equal, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So, and the sun is still out. We are getting more daylight. So thanks everyone for tuning in. You guys are great. So we'll see you at the next one. For now, that's what it is.